Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel on human design. Well, the viewers have voted and yet again you've wanted me to do more lines that suck. So, okay, I will do that. We will go into some of the difficult characteristics that some of you are carrying. And indeed, we're going to start with something that's actually in me, in an openness, in an open ajna, in red. So I have an open ajna, my conceptual framework is open, and I have two gates in the 47th gate. The first one is futility, and the second one is self-oppression. Lucky me, eh? And it was pretty self-oppressive when I was younger, for sure. But it's open, so I'm here to see that ideas come and go, which I think has helped. So we're going to go into that one. We're going to go into futility because that's something that was asked by several people in the comments, and I'm here to read your comments and to come back and respond, if I do, to talking more about them. So that's what I'm going to do. But before I do, for 10 seconds, my little YouTube blurb. My name is Richard Beaumont. I've been doing human design for 25 years, and 20 of those have been training professional analysts. Okay, so let's get into the 47 line 6. The 47-6, futility, in blue, a difficult position for which there is no exaltation. The sun in detriment, where the strength of will alone may find a way to adapt and survive, but without hope of ever overcoming the oppression. Life as an ordeal stripped of realization. And by stripped of realization, he means stripped of realization in terms of the mental conceptual process. Not like the whole of life is stripped of realization, just the mental conceptualization of whatever it may be that's going on at that time. We can see that it has the heading in the I Ching in brown is a kind of a general heading for the gate. And this in this gate of realizing, in the hexagram of oppression, we have a restrictive and adverse state as a result of internal weakness or external strength, or both. So what does that mean in a general way? Well, to understand it, you go to the center, and the center is a conceptual center. And it's here to make sense of what it receives from the fuel in the 64th gate. And the 64th gate is there to just take in everything. So, you know, you're walking down the street and you're passing a trash can and you're heading towards a series of cars, you know, it's picking it all up. It's visually picking it all up. And it's stored in the deep gray matter in your mind. And then it's like a memory that flashes back different scenes, but not in the same sequence, not with a beginning and a middle and an end, the way the abstract channel, the abstract circuitry normally works. So you get things out of sequence. And the 47 line 6 is there to make sense of these little episodes of visual stimuli. And of course, it's not an easy thing to do because there is no logical sequencing. It doesn't make sense initially, and this is where self-oppression comes in, mentally trying to get a sense of what that memory is all about. And I think, having it an open ajna, I think it can be very good as a counseling gate, making sense of things that come out of people that may not seem to be tied to this or that. But if you're dealing with it in yourself, it's not an easy thing, because you're trying to make sense out of something that may not initially make sense. When you come to the 47-6, that already knows about the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the 5, it realizes in the end there's really no point in making sense of a lot of things. There really isn't. And what kind of sense is it trying to make? It's trying to make sense of what happened in the past, and in particular, who is to blame if things went wrong. You know, was it me? Was it them? You know, what happened? How can we say this person did that, or I did this, or whatever? And when you get to the 47.6, it really isn't, it isn't about that. Now, you know already that 6 lines are already looking to the next gate. So in order to make sense of the 47 line 6, we have to look to the next gate. The next gate is the 6 line 1. Now, the 6th gate is the source of all emotional waves. And you've got to see that the 47, because it's connected to the abstract process that is also connected to the solar plex, it knows that you make sense of something at one point and it doesn't matter because things change. People have different perspectives on things over time. And what really mattered in one moment may not matter at all years down the road. So there's a whole lot of futility in letting go of the things that are really not worthwhile holding on to, if you look at it that way. When it comes to the 6th gate, it's about wanting to really connect with the other, looking for the 59 in the sacral. Remember, this is the channel of mating. Looking for the 59, you know, to give energy to the emotional wave and to have a fertile connection. The channel of mating is all about making more. It's all about what is fertile. So when you come to the 6 line 1, the line of retreat, and this is what the 47.6 is looking at, is looking towards, it's do not waste your time in relationships that are of no value to you. You know, if there's no value in the connection, what's the point of knowing who's to blame and who's not to blame and what happened? I mean, who cares? If the relationship is fertile, if you are making more, if it's a productive relationship, and if the energy between the people or the two people, whatever it may be, if the energy is of benefit to you, if you're growing through it, if they have the energy to give to whatever the emotional wave is, then it's worthwhile. Then something can come from it. Then more can be made out of it. But if not, and you're just hanging around listening to people complaining about how bad things are, there's no point. It's futile. It's the past. What happened, happened. You know, what about what we can do now? Where does it lead to? It leads to a filtering out of the people in your life that are not of value to you. They may be of value to others. Now, on top of that, I also want to make the point that the 47 is a pretty heavy anxiety gate. We talk about fear in the awareness centers, and in the Ajna, it's called anxiety. And one of the comments came from JLW that said, yeah, it's all well and good, Richard. You can say, well, you can look at it in a philosophical way, but he gave me an example of a friend of his who had the 47.6 at a time when there was a conjunction between Mars and Chiron with the 51 line 1, so the gate of shock. And this guy, his friend, jumped off a cliff. So what do you learn from this? You learn the secret of the abstract circuit, which is basically patience. Over time, the aha will come. Over time, you'll make sense of things if it's of value to you. If not, let it go. If not, let it go. Easy for me to say, having it unconscious in an open ajna, and I know it's not easy for those people that have the full channel, the channel of abstraction. That's a continual rehashing and going back and thinking again and again of what's happened in the past, and who said what and why, and again, who's to blame. You can't just drop that, but you can detach from that. I want you to think about the sixth line in terms of the detachment process that happens in the middle period of the six lines process. And I want you to see that even after that time, the wisdom in the sixth line is to be able to step back and see things from another perspective, and step back further. And if you step back far enough, you can see that things make sense in a completely different way to the way that most people make sense of things. It's basically the wisdom to be able to know if those around you are worthwhile for you or not, and not to get caught in the anxiety of worrying about what's happened in the past. That's its wisdom. It is fixed in detriment. There is no point in making sense of something if something is not fertile. What's the point? The point is to find those that are. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Staying with the six line theme, we're going to go to the 59-6, which is the one night stand. The one night stand in blue, which means it's a lifelong process, the tendency based on personality or circumstances to accept only temporary unions that may be otherwise impossible or dangerous to continue. In the exaltation, the perfected relationship, whether for a moment or an eternity, the power for intimacy regardless of conditions. And the detriment, the basic drive to move on that seems, and in the detriment, the basic drive to move on that seeks impermanence as a matter of course and not in response to circumstances, the drive for sexual and intimate diversity. I have a grim story about this. I was at a human design conference, and someone came up to me very agitated and said, you know, he must have a reading straight away because there's something he has to know. And he said, my girlfriend, is she going to betray me? Is she going to be unfaithful to me? And he was banging on about the point that she had the 59-3, which has in the detriment the tendency to be promiscuous. But she also had the 59-6. And the 59-6 is the wisdom of that, having gone through that perhaps in an earlier part of her life. It's really looking for what the 6 really wants. And the 6 really wants a perfected relationship. They're looking for a fertile relationship where there is a natural sense of rightness between the two people. Remember, the 6th line carries with it this wanting to connect with the soulmate. And that's tied up in the one night stand. So the 59-6, looking for the soulmate or not. But it's also looking beyond the role, and the role is something, this is a role gate. So when we come to role gates, it's all about playing out the role. It's not necessarily the being itself. It's a point that Ra likes to make, and it's true. What it is doing, though, is it's looking to the next gate, as we know, and the next gate is the 40 line 1, and the 40 is the deliverer in the will, you know, to be part of the family, to be part of the tribe, to be, you know, involved in the tribal life in terms of building a family and having a whole life with this person. So the 6th line is really looking for where does it lead to? And if it doesn't lead where the sixth line wants it to go, then what's the point? So these aren't people that are necessarily going to have a one-night stand, because if there's nothing that really pulls them, into that role of saying, well, this is worth it because the intimacy is so incredible, but it's not going to lead anywhere. So is it worth it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, depending on what's going on. But often it's like, well, they're not going to get involved because they are looking for that perfected relationship. They're looking for that specific energy that is just there for them. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed my Lines That Suck Part 3, and I will be back again soon with something completely different. But if you have enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and share, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.